I'm going to call to order the Tuesday, August the 26th, 2014 town meeting. Can I have the roll call, please?
Mayor Travis Marion.
Here.
Vice Mayor George Walker.
Here.
Commissioner Alan Authorreed.
Here.
Commissioner Jennifer Scully.
Here.
Commissioner David Warnick.
Here.
All are present.
Thank you. Will you stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and for the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, I have approval of minutes of the August 12th, 2014 town meeting. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from that town meeting?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
The meeting minutes have been motioned and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passes. We have no executive session reports tonight. We also didn't. Oh, yeah, you're right. Thank you, Mayor. Scooting back for a second, if you will bow your heads with me, please. Thank you. Dear Heavenly Father, I pray for the town of Rising Sun. I pray for the people that I serve with, and I pray for our citizens. I pray for those that are maybe in need, may feel helpless. I pray for our warriors overseas. And tonight I want to say a big thank you to you, Lord, for guiding our state championship boys to win our state championship title. And I thank you for everything you do. In your precious name, amen. Thank you. Moving to executive sessions, we have none tonight. In public presentations, we also do not have any, so I'm going to go ahead and move into business meeting items. The first business meeting item is the County Master Sewer and Water Plan update, and that is Commissioner Walker.
Okay, the county is updating their master water and sewer plan, and they've asked us to update ours. Basically, there's just a few changes. The major change being that in the plan that we have submitted to the county in the past was talking about our lagoon, our sewer lagoon. In the updated version, we are putting in there that we are building our sewer plant, which will replace the lagoon. Also, replace some 4-inch water lines, about 10,000 feet of 4-inch water line when we get the capital to do that. And I think you all got a copy of this Cecil County Master Water and Sewer Plan. Those are the major changes that we have to update that we are submitting to the county. That's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner Walker. I have Resolution 2014-05, which is our fee schedule, a change for agricultural building permit fees. And that's Commissioner Authorreed.
Okay. Give me 1 second here. Calvin, is this combined with the parking area?
This is the document that we reviewed at the Planning Commission meeting the other night. This is to provide a fee structure for building permits for agricultural buildings. Currently, our fee structure was silent on agricultural buildings.
You have to excuse me, I'm still in vacation mode, so to speak. Yeah, we've been discussing in the planning and zoning meetings, redoing our adequate public facilities ordinances. And on top of that, we found that we did not have a fee schedule for agricultural or farming for properties within the town limits, which are few and far apart for us. So, Calvin, could you explain that for us, please? Where we left off on that?
This basically is all the fees that the town charges are covered in basically a 20-page fee schedule. What you have before you is a resolution. Whenever the town is going to change a fee, they do it by resolution. And there are many components of our fee schedule, but the two that are relevant here is whenever somebody comes in to build or do any type of renovation that would be regulated by our zoning code, we issue a zoning compliance permit, and that's essentially what you see on the first page. And that zoning compliance permit is basically where somebody comes in and says, I want to do X, Y, Z, does it fit within your zoning code? And there's a review and a fee associated with that. Currently under our fee structure, we had no structure for agricultural buildings, or we had no fee structure for agricultural buildings. So that would require us to treat them like a commercial building. And that's not exactly fair because they are a little bit different. So what we did is we reached out to the county and we got a copy of their fee structure, and we actually, what you have is a document that will make it cheaper for people to build, construct, or renovate agricultural properties that are actually designated by the county tax assessment office as an agricultural use. It will be cheaper to do that in the town of Rising Sun than it would be in the county. If we don't make this change, it'll actually be much more expensive under our current fee structure for those agricultural uses. So the language in here is just very similar to the language we have for residential and commercial projects. It's more or less to help people understand how the process works. And then on page 2 of 6, you will see part 2, which talks about building permits. And this is where agricultural uses really get hammered in our current fee schedule, because typically there's two ways that you assess a building permit fee on a property. You either do it by the total dollar value of the improvement, or you do it by the square footage of the improvement. And we basically do ours by the square footage because, for instance, if somebody comes in and wants to put in a $100,000 single HVAC unit that requires a 15-minute inspection because it's all a self-contained unit, if your fee structure is based upon the dollar value of it, you end up charging them an awful amount of money for that. So we do ours totally different to make it a little bit more user-friendly for people. So all in all, in our building permits, we have to account for new construction, renovations, alterations, mechanical, plumbing, electrical, all the things that we look for on these inspections are covered between page 2 and 6. And all of these fees, I set it up so it would be cheaper to do it in the town of Rising Sun than in the county. In round numbers, for somebody to build an agricultural building, it'll be about $1.50 per square foot less to build in the town of Rising Sun. And the reason why I did that, quite frankly, is if you take a building the size of a big office building, there's a lot involved in that inspection. You're going into every room, opening doors, looking here, there, everywhere. When you go into an agricultural building, it's just a big, wide open building, and the inspection is not the same. So to charge them like a commercial building is not fair. So this is the resolution before you. Just for some of you relatively new to the board, it was determined that these don't necessarily have to be read in their entirety, just a summary given, and so that's essentially the summary.
And we can hold this one and review it and
Yep.
make a move on it at the next meeting in
Yes, you can.
September. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, just let here. Okay. Thank you. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner Authrenreith. The next item is just a draft. It's an executive draft that I drafted for the Economic Development and Community Revitalization Advisory Committee. What you have in front of you is basically, I'm going to summarize it, is rules of the committee itself. It talks about membership. It talks about the terms of office for this committee. It talks about, if someone doesn't show up for so many meetings, 3 regular consecutive meetings, they would be terminated. It talks about how the appointments are made, obviously with the mayor making the appointment and the board approval. and then the officers of the committee and how often they will meet. I am not going to be asking for a vote on this tonight. What I'm going to do is just let you guys read it. I'm going to put it on the town website as well. And then hopefully for your consideration at the next meeting, we will be able to move forward with the draft of the Economic Development and Community Revitalization Committee. So moving forward from that, our next order of business is citizens' input. Could I please get the sign-in sheet? Thank you, Chief. Joanne Osborne, you have a question mark. Okay. We have no speakers on the agenda tonight. So if anyone else would like to speak, now is the time if you did not sign in. Okay. Hearing none, we're going to move from citizens' input into the mayor's report. My report's going to be brief tonight. I did want to say I did present some proclamations. Calvin, typically, do we read these into the record or because they were read?
You do read them because they're more, for show and recognition, so they typically do get read.
Into the record?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and read these proclamations into the record. The first is a proclamation that I had done for Plumpton Park Zoo. Plumpton Park just broke ground on Jimmy's Giraffe House. They have a beautiful complex. If you have not been to Plumpton Park, I definitely recommend you going and seeing the new things and great ideas that the two new owners have. They have definitely made Plumpton Park a destination not only for Cecil County, but for our surrounding counties as well. They have broken ground on Jimmy's Giraffe House, which will also be an educational complex there. It is absolutely beautiful. So I'll go ahead and read into record Proclamation 2014-06, which is the Plumpton Park Proclamation. Whereas the town of Rising Sun celebrates Plumpton Park Zoo's wide range of programs and mission to inspire others to love, respect, and protect our wildlife and wild spaces. Whereas Plumpton Park Zoo is the home to over 127 animals and 60 different species. Whereas the zookeepers, like Cheryl and Nick, devote their lives to caring for animals that have become advocates for vanishing wildlife and promoting the critical need to protect endangered species and preserve natural wildlands. Whereas the Plumpton Park Zoo is the home of the Jeremiah Brown House and Mill Site, which is on the National Historical Registry. Whereas the Plumpton Park Zoo has a long history of providing meaningful opportunities through volunteer service. Whereas the Plumpton Park Zoo is open year-round for the enjoyment of our local residents, as well as to attract visitors from the surrounding counties. Now, therefore, I, Travis Marion of the town of Rising Sun, and on behalf of Commissioners Auchenreith, Scully, Walker, and Warnick, do hereby proclaim August the 21st as Jimmy the Giraffe Day. And we call upon our citizens to celebrate the significant and positive impact that Plumpton Park Zoo has had on all of us. In witness therefore, and on behalf of the Board of Commissioners, I have hereunto set my hand on this 21st day of August 2014. They were really happy to get this proclamation. They were honored that we had people there to represent the town. Although Plumpton Park is not in the town limits, it is my belief that it is still part of the Rising Sun community, and it is important that we stay in touch with them, offer them, to come out to our events and cross-promote each other as best we can, because they're doing a great thing there, and they are protecting the wildlife and endangered species that may not have a place to go if it wasn't for Plumpton Park. Believe it or not, they actually let me feed Jimmy from my mouth. So I was luckily enough to get a picture of myself holding his sugar cane, I believe it was, and I held it in my mouth, and he ate out of my mouth. So I put the picture on Facebook, so for all the fodder of people laughing at it, there it is. So moving forward tonight, I did a proclamation on behalf of the Rising Sun 10, 11-year-old state champions. That is why myself and the Board of Commissioners were a little late this evening. The proclamation is 2014-07, and it's titled Rising Sun Little League State Championship. Whereas the Little League is celebrating their 75th year anniversary and Rising Sun Little League is celebrating 61 years of service, and whereas Rising Sun is the largest organized youth sports program, which has grown to nearly 200,000 teams in all 50 states and more than 80 countries. And whereas the mission of the Little League is to give children a game that provides fundamental principles such as sportsmanship, fair play, and teamwork, skills that they will use later in life to become a good citizen. And whereas the Rising Sun Little League 10-11-year-old baseball all-stars claimed the Maryland 10-11-year-old baseball title with an amazing triumph in 5 straight must-win games, clinching the championship with an 11-8 victory over West Salisbury. And whereas the Rising Sun Little League 10-11-year-old baseball all-stars responded to great coaching and management to pepper the strike zone and count on their defense to get the job done. And whereas the town of Rising Sun is proud of the Rising Sun Little League team for their outstanding play and excited that the team is part of Maryland's rich tradition of excellence in sporting and athletics. We commend all the players along with the managers and coaches for their amazing accomplishments in the 2014 Little League season. And whereas the Little League remains for many a bridge to both the past and future. And now therefore I, Travis Marion, of the town of Rising Sun, and on behalf of our town commissioners, do hereby proclaim August the 26th as the Little League 10-11-year-old Baseball All-Star Day, and we call upon our citizens to celebrate the significant positive impact the Rising Sun Little League 10-11-year-old state champions has had on all of us. In witness, therefore, and on behalf of the Board of Commissioners of the town of Rising Sun, I've set my hand on this 26th day of August 2014. The Rising Sun Little League was very happy to have us there. We actually got a great picture with the team, the 10-11-year-old state championship team, and Joe Shepard, who is in charge of the Rising Sun Little League, came up to me and said, we are honored to have you guys here tonight, and thank you so much for coming. Not because, every kid lives in the town of Rising Sun, but because they represent the Rising Sun community. So I'm excited to get involved with the Little League more, help cross-promote them, and they can help cross-promote us. But the 10-11-year-olds definitely deserve a proclamation, and I also gave them certificates of recognition individually because they represented Rising Sun at a top level, and they came back with a victory. So I congratulate them. Moving forward, I also wanted to say that the dog park is moving along. Commissioner Warnick has been down there working with the trail system. We are also doing some grading of the parking lot itself, and I've been working with our graphic designers to get signage down there and rules up as soon as possible so that we will be able to open the park. I did want to say to Joanne Osborne, you had mentioned Cherry Street and putting some signs there and stuff. I will be talking with Commissioner Auchenreith if he doesn't already know that you spoke at the last meeting. He was on vacation, so
we talked.
you can reach out to him and talk some more. So I welcome that. The last thing I wanted to say was September. Our next meeting will obviously be the second week of September, that Tuesday. You will see some of our streetlights be turned green starting the month of September. I will be presenting a proclamation the first meeting of September for Donate Life Month. And if you don't know what Donate Life Month, it is signing up for organ donation. It is very important to sign up as an organ donor. And I will be recognizing a family at that time that gave the ultimate sacrifice. And their child, in my mind, is considered a hero for donating all of his organs to multiple people. And he saved their life. So I'm going to encourage organ donation. Some of you may see this green band that I'm wearing. I will ask the Board of Commissioners to also wear a green band during the month of September. I will be giving that to them to represent Donate Life Month and also encourage organ donation. With that said, I did want to add one last note, and hopefully he will be able to stand it. I won't mention it in depth. Myself and Commissioner Warnick both had a very emotional day. We both said goodbye to our 2 exchange students from Spain. They have made a huge impact on our life. And I again will mention that the exchange program is a wonderful program. If you have an empty room or just want to come and volunteer and help them out with events, they do a great service to the community by helping students learn about America, but also they help us. They make a huge impact on our lives. And both of us, I'm going to call you out now, Dave, both of us were crying like babies on the way home from the airport because we missed our kids so much. They become so much like family to you, and you want to do as much as you can with them. So I apologize to the board and, for not responding to some emails I may have had, but I wanted to give this kid as much of an experience as I could. Next summer, I'm sure that they will have kids here again. and I will be there right there with them, donating my time and hopefully having another exchange student. But it's a really great program that you may not know that we have here in the town. With that being said, I'm going to turn it over to our staff reports. Chief Peterson, do you have a report tonight? Yes, I do, sir. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. First, I'd like to welcome our new police commissioner, Mrs. Scully. I've met with her several times in the past week, and I think we're going to do just fine, or even better, with her as a police commissioner. During the past 2 weeks, from August 13th till the 26th, we handled approximately 262 calls for service. Nothing unusual occurred during that time that really stands out. The statistics you all have, and they are available in the police department. Last week, school began. School bus safety comes to mind. When you see a school bus stopped with the oscillating red lights, please stop in front or behind it or beside it, because our precious cargo is now getting on the bus or getting off the bus. So I want to remind the citizens to do that also. Last week on the 19th, we underwent an audit from the Governor's Office of Crime Control and Prevention for juvenile detention. They come in and they examine all of the paperwork that we generate for juvenile detention, and we passed with flying colors. We were given a 100% compliance rating, which is great. That means the guys are doing what they're supposed to do. We are set to undergo the National Criminal Information System audit on September 2nd. This audit's a little bit more in depth. What they look for is security by site, by location, of all the precious records that we maintain. So we're going to undergo that on the 2nd. I expect to have similar results once they're completed. And with that being said, that's pretty much my report for tonight, unless there's any questions.
Thank you, Chief Peterson.
Thank you much.
Financials. Do we have a report tonight?
If you turn to the teal tab in your red book, this is the June, so it's the end of the year, so these are 12 months. We're way ahead of schedule with the auditor. She has one more piece of information, well, two things to find out. One, she needs that account number from MBRS.
We have it.
Okay. And the other thing is she has a dollar amount that she needs to get from the state, and that will be an accrual that we have to do, and where we'll be adding another $20-some thousand worth of revenue. We don't know the exact number. So that is not in this set of books, and it's not in her books yet till we get that information. It appears as if tomorrow I'll probably find that amount out. I will then adjust the books, and we will go on. She said probably in another week I will have draft financial statements, in which at that time I'll do the M&A letter, and always before we were doing that like the very last week of October. So I feel that this is going very well with this audit, and it's very positive. We're moving forward on a quick pace. As you can see, and since it's kind of late, I'm going to just kind of cap here a few things. Cash at the end of the year was $31,598.91. And the total assets for the government is $609,930.45. You will see that the accounts payable and the accrued expenses went up because we are accruing for the last half of the payroll that was actually paid out in July but is a June expense. And then we owe the proprietary fund $424,619.51 for remaining fund balance of $172,615.58. This is basically like our retained earning. If you go to page 3, you will see that the total revenue, and if you go across the page, those that are new, you'll see the different funds: general service, police, planning, zoning, public works, street and sidewalk, solid waste, parks, recreation, debt, and disaster response. We have a total revenue of $1,745,061.52. We have total expenditures of $2,500,030.96. We had a tremendous capital outlay of streets and sidewalks. We borrowed that money, which is the next line down, of proceeds from long-term debt. It acts like revenue, so in the end, we had a negative change in fund balance of $145,329.91. And I don't want anyone to get scared saying negative, because we had a positive change in fund balance that more than covers this negative in the proprietary fund. And so all we did was pull down on the reserves of the fund balance. Any questions with regard to the fund balance and the income and expenditures? If you go to the supplemental information, then, and this is what I always think is the most important thing, you will see, give Calvin a minute to catch up.
You going all the way to the end?
No, I'm going to go and show them all the different funds, and then I'll go to the end. You will see you have general services, budget to actual, and then you will have the variance. So we actually had $48,000 more of revenue in the general services. That's how you would read this spreadsheet. And you go down, and our expenses were $29,000 more. However, we are positive from budget to actual to $18,000 in the general services. If you go across the page, you will see that the police is negative $6,461.92. However, they purchased a vehicle that we did not budget it. So they would have been in the positive if it hadn't been for the vehicle. Then we have planning and zoning was negative $8,747.05. Public Works was negative $7,572.36. Go to the next page, streets and sidewalks, and you will see what the fund balance change is for each of them. And we will go to the very last page of budget to actual, which is page 8. And I'll give Kevin a minute to get there. So we actually collected total revenue more than we were planning of $52,075.10. We had additional expenditures of $148,993, and the majority of that was in capital outlay and general expenditures. Any questions with regard to the governmental funds? And if you all have any questions, feel free to call me and ask me. The next is the proprietary funds, which is basically water and sewer. And these work a little bit differently, as I've explained before. They are more like a true business profit and loss. So at the end of the year, we had $170,852.82. And we have in savings of $1,573,104.22. We have receivables of $127,194.79. For those of you who are new, we have restricted cash and cash equivalent of $4,455,670.92. And this is the money that sits in PNC that we draw on to finish the sewer project. We have what we call the assets less the depreciation of $18,473,836.06. And this is basically our water tanks, our water lines, the sewer project. And you will notice that at times, in this case, the sewer has borrowed $67,786.92 from the water. And the liability for water and sewer, the water being $1,108,863.10. That is for our one last water tank, and then the sewer project is $13.1 million. So we have a total unrestricted assets of $2 million, and we have the total assets of $20,837,394.32. If you look at the next page, you will see that we have collected, and these are pretty well final numbers, $1.1 million worth of revenue in water and sewer, and we had expenses of $944,282.39. So we had positive operating income of $216,822.73, which more than covered the shortfall in the government side of the funds. We have a total change in net assets of $214,832.07. Any questions about the income and expenditures? Okay. If you wanted to, after the supplementary, you will see the water budget to actual. You will see the sewer budget to actual. We're just going to slide right through those to the total. We had $78,159.17 of actual above budget with the revenue. And we actually saved $92,640.33 of the expenditures were under budget. So I think that was pretty good budgeting on Calvin's part there. So you will see that we were positive to the budget of $150,830.83. Any questions? Now that I can see you all, I'll put on my glasses because I have to take them off to read. I guess it's a game that you play when you get older. And like I said, if you have any questions, and Commissioner Scully, and if I mispronounce your name, I'm sorry. It's good to have you here, and I do have the May statement from the last month. So probably now that the audit's over with, we'll get back on track and have them current, and if you all have any questions, feel free to give me a call. Okay?
Thank you, Ms. Wagner. Town Administrator, do you have a report this evening?
Yeah, a couple of things I wanted to add, and Patricia, I'm not sure if this is reflected in the sewer and water or not, is that we just submitted an application to USDA to get like another $580 some odd thousand in reimbursements back from USDA. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is with everything that goes on around here, with all the stuff that we're into, we still have a pretty good, healthy cash flow system that, despite all the issues we had at the sewer plant, we're still able to bankroll basically $500,000 of expenses and not run into trouble. So we should be getting that reimbursement from USDA probably in about another 2 weeks. A couple of things I wanted to bring to the attention of the board and the general public, because as Patricia was saying, now that some of the dust is settled, we can start to refocus on some of the things the town has been working on over the years. And I attended an economic development, I'm going to call it sort of a meeting today with Delegate Rudolph, and they had Commissioner Walker, our friend Denise McLeish from USDA, which we've come to know very well over the last year. There's a lot of changes in the federal government grant and loan procedures, and they're using a different chart to evaluate basically how Rising Sun fits in the amount of grants monies that they could get. And we qualify for up to 70% of the expenses that we would put in for. So to put that in comparison, Charlestown, the percentage was only 15% that they qualified for USDA funding. So we had some discussions, and some people that have been here remember some of these things. We have the economic development study that is in the budget, but it's one of those things that we would move forward with it if we actually got grant money to cover the cost of a consultant coming in. So that is something that's covered. We're getting ready to do an RFP for the design of the water line on the Maryland side. And one of the reasons why we're going to need to consider doing that is if we want to get USDA funding in the future, because it's federal government money, we have to have a fair and open bidding process. So we can't just give it to an engineer that we work with all the time. So we do have to put it out. But the good thing is we basically fill out an application and we can qualify for $25,000 worth of grant just to have the engineer do the preliminary engineering studies that are required for that. The other item is the actual water line construction could be covered. Tom Mummy from the Historic, I won't take all his thunder, but we did have some conversations about a museum being able to have grant monies for that. Community Center, Travis and Dave, we've been talking a lot about expanding the parks system, and there's a special vein of money now for community centers that's available. The other thing that I had brought up that the Cecil County communities used to do, which was called a COG, and that was an acronym for Council of Governments. And the last time they actually had COG meetings was like in 2008, and that's when the mayors and key elected people and some staff would get together on, once a month and talk about what's going on in their communities and partner on things. And one of the things that we could get grant money on would be small-scale paving equipment. And Commissioner Arthurreath, you can relate to this. When we were down there doing the work on Crothers, that repair that we did was a rather large repair. And the only way our guys could really finish that blacktop is with a vibrating tamper that's about 30 by 30, and they're trying to make an area 20 feet wide by 50 feet long look good using that individual tamper. There's no reason why the communities couldn't get together to purchase an actual paving machine, a small paving machine that you see the contractors use, that could drop a swath of blacktop 8 feet wide, 50 feet long, so that when our guys are fixing water lines and stuff like that, we could do a much better job of replacing that. None of the communities have a need to buy it themselves, but we could all go together on a grant application and get a piece of equipment that we could share and have it moved around. So we had some discussions about that. Commissioner Walker, you had brought up in the master sewer and water plan the 10,000 lineal feet of water line. This is something that could be covered in this grant funding also. And then Commissioner Warnick, we've been talking about walking trails and expanding walking trails. They are very excited about communities that want to do walking trails also. So, I have like 8 items here, and they've all been sort of hanging on the fruit tree, so to speak, over the last 7 or 8 years. Obviously, we can't go get them all, but we really have some opportunities before us here to really, now that the dust is settled, get back in the game and getting these grant monies and all. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Town Administrator. Historical Preservation Commission, do you have a report tonight?
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. As Calvin stated, I too attended that meeting at the community college with Delegate Rudolph, and I might say that Commissioner McCarthy from the county was there, as well as the lady from USDA. And it seems that, although Calvin, I don't recall you saying this, but it seems that the changes with the feds has loosened up some money. And she made the remark that in her career, she's never had this amount of money to give loans and grants to. Now, not all this money is grant money, some of it is loan money, and she did tell us that it would be a 4% interest rate. But we had a pretty extensive conversation in reference to the historic preservation and some of the goals that we have that we'd like to move forward with. And she felt that we probably would qualify for some of this money and at a high percentage. And 70% was mentioned on several times in the conversation. I've had some conversations with another group in which if we can work out the details, that possibly we would have two groups going for money and combine the monies together, which would make it possible for both groups to reach their goals. So I don't want to go into any more detail than that, because this is very preliminary in our discussions, but it has certainly made me hopeful that we can do something about a future museum, because we have run out of space here. That stuff across the street isn't going to fit back in here. And so, and along with that, I'm sure that the town could use that space for better usage than what it's being used for now. And I think about the economic development and community development. The museum falls right in line with that. It can be one of the leading features in that, and it can help us, as she pointed out to us, a museum at the entrance to town or close to it could encourage businesses, could encourage employment, could encourage people to settle here. It's just another attraction. And how many times have we discussed that we don't have an attraction for the town of Rising Sun? And I'm happy to hear Mayor stating about the zoo. I too feel very strongly that we need to do everything we can to help promote the zoo. At the same time, it'll be a promotion for the town of Rising Sun. Our Little League the same way. Going by there the other night, and I wasn't aware of what you fellas had to, and lady had to do tonight, but I was thinking as I was driving home, the lights were on and some people were down there. And they played, and we've got a sign in town that talks about the state championships and so forth. And we really don't promote that for the town. We need to think along those lines. That's just the beginning of where this town, I believe, is headed. Now, with having said all that, we at the Preservation Group have got 3 events coming up that I would like to make note to you. The first one is going to be September 30, and it's an Amish lunch. We're going to be going to an Amish farm not too far from town. It's $15 a person, and we can take 1 to 30 people. They can handle up to 30 people. It's up Wilson Road, right across the Pennsylvania line, where the car unit, Ramsey Ford, is. You would turn left there and go up across the Pennsylvania line, and don't hold me to this, it's either the second or the third farm up. Those that sign up for it, we will have directions for them to really be definite as to where it's located. Our next event will be the Civil War reenactment, and that's October 3rd, 4th, and 5th. The October 3rd date is when we have the schools come in and go through the encampment and learn about the Civil War, which we are very enthused about, and it usually is very successful. Like last year, we had over 250 children go through. So it's a good attraction. And I'm sure our local press is going to give us a little spread there in the paper that'll help us promote it. I didn't even ask her. She already told me she would. And then the last thing that we have is a trip to Mount Harmon. And that's going to be October 17. And that, by the way, is a Friday, and the schools are closed. And we are encouraging families and folks that have children to take advantage of this. We are getting a nice rate per person to go in. It's $8 per person. So a whole family can go at a reasonable rate, which, by the way, is the senior rate. I guess they felt sorry for us old folks in the preservation. It is a bring your own lunch or pack your own lunch. There are picnic tables on the grounds, or you can go wherever you want to go for lunch. But it's a 2-hour tour. The tour begins at 10 o'clock at Mount Harmon. Will be completed around 12:30. Again, this we're opening to the public. The Amish lunch is first come, first served, but this we can take as many people as we want. If there's a large amount, they'll split you up into groups. And they are most enthusiastic about us doing this. In October, they're kind of slowed down. It's right before they close it off for the winter. So I'm happy that we were able to meet up with them and plan this trip. So I encourage everybody to take advantage of it. The last thing I have is that we will be, in the month of September, starting our regular meeting schedule back. Our first meeting will be September 10th. The next meeting will be October 8th. And those meetings begin at 7 p.m. in this room right here. And with that, Mayor, thank you.
Thank you. Do I have any old business tonight? I did want to say something under old business that is something that was brought up in the media, and somebody got my attention this afternoon. And that was some of the improvements done to Town Hall. We did improve some of the fixtures outside. We had it power washed and scrubbed. We also had some things done in the inside. We had carpet done. We had some painting done. And we also had some artwork put up as well. I'm in the strong belief that these things are done because when we encourage our old district of town to improve their buildings, I need Rising Sun to represent in a well-mannered way. I need these business owners to come in and see that we're serious, that we are professional, and that we have a professional environment. A lot of these things were needed. It had been 12, 13 years, I believe, since the carpet was down. Some of it had become a tripping hazard. Some of it had become, unfortunately, molded because we had some flooding back during Hurricane Sandy. We tried to dry it out as best we could, but some of the offices downstairs got hit hard. But I'm in the strong belief, like I said, of representing Rising Sun in a professional manner and inviting people in, not only from the county, but also from the state, and welcoming people from the business community to come in and show that we are serious and that we have a professional environment to work in. So I did want to say that. Moving forward, does anyone have any new business this evening? Hearing none, I'm going to go ahead and move into the commissioner comments. Commissioner Auchenreith.
Okay. Just a few things. I mean, it's been not a whole lot happening here. The end of August, I was out of town the week of our last meeting. But one of the things, while it's still fresh in my mind, is we attended the Little League event tonight, and a lot of congratulations were given to all the boys and the girls both that played. But one thing that we have to remember is all the sacrifice that the parents made to get these kids there in between jobs and everything else that's going on. All the parents who volunteered to coach and referee and run the system. let's not forget about them. They deserved a big round of applause also for all the work they do making that happen. And I can remember playing and now seeing that, you don't realize till you get older how much work that takes. Another thing about the zoo, they have an event coming up. I think it's called Brew at the Zoo. Yeah, I went to that last year. It was like the only night that it rained all summer, but we had a great time. And that's something that you should go and enjoy at night when things are a little more relaxed and everything. That zoo's come a long way, and we should continue to support it. Tickets are cheap, and you'll have a good time. So, one of the things that when it comes to the streets and sidewalks, I've got some emails from a lot of residents lately. One that I looked at last week when I got back was Pearl Street. A resident sent me some pictures of the driveway and the street. I went down there and looked at it, and we've got some major work that needs to be done down there. So we've got to figure out what's the best way to tackle it. We've got a lot of big paving jobs that we're trying to figure out how we can pay for one thing, and then fit into this. A lot of people don't realize there's a season for paving, and it runs out depending on how cold it gets, how quickly this fall. So we're trying to figure out what we can do. It's really hard to prioritize them because they're all bad and they need some work. Another big thing, like Calvin was just talking about, down on Carruthers Street, there was what I was told was a pothole. I got down there, and it was the biggest pothole kind of you ever saw. But you could see where that street had sunk a couple of times, and you can follow the water pipe down the street. You can see where it's sinking. And the guys did a great job down there. They also did a great job over in Summer Hill on all those storm drains that were collapsing and very unsafe. So another thing, Joanne, you and I talked at the last meeting about your street, and one of the things I wanted to ask Commissioner Scully to do was work with the chief to deploy some resources out there, especially with school coming up, to try to prevent some of the speeding that's going on, and throughout other parts of the town also. It is back to school time. I was really surprised. I don't know where all these other kids came from in my development that I saw waiting on the bus, because some of them I think I've never seen before, and it just grows and grows and grows. So watch out for them. I even come close to passing the school bus because I wasn't in that mode of mind, first thing in the morning. So everybody be careful. Yeah, I'll probably be the first one you catch. So, our planning and zoning, we have our next meeting September 15th. We still have some vacancies. And I want to ask you, please be patient with us when it comes to filling these vacancies. The Planning and Zoning Board is made up of residents who volunteer for this. We only meet once a month. We need a letter of intent so we can verify your address and have your contact information. But like I said, please be patient with us. As we get that, we bring it to the meeting and discuss it with everyone. This summer it's kind of been tough because it's vacation time, and we've been lucky. We've had been able to have quorums this summer, but it does take some time. So just bear with us. And like I said, we still have, I think, two vacancies on there we want to fill. Other than that, like I said, I've been getting, I appreciate the emails along with the pictures that residents have been sending to me. And then I go out and look at it, and I try to stop and talk with those residents while I'm out there to let them know that, I hear it, we're going to do something about it. It's not going to be ignored, but we're starting to get into the end of the season, so bear with us as we do that. Other than that, Mr. Mayor, I think that's all I have tonight.
Thank you, Commissioner Autenreith. Before I introduce Commissioner Scully, I wanted to say a big thank you to you. You have assimilated into this environment very, very well. I've heard from other board members that you have called and talked with them on the phone. You have called and talked with me on the phone about what you're planning and things that are going on. And that's great to hear, because we're trying really hard to work as a team. And I think that you are doing a fantastic job with the police department. So I am really glad to have you on board. Commissioner Scully, now is your time.
Okay.
In the past 2 weeks, it's really been a time for me to get acclimated, gather information, develop a relationship with Chief Peterson. In the coming days, I plan on meeting the officers individually, but I really wanted to kind of get a basis of information from which to start from. And in, two, really meaningful meetings that Chief Peterson and I had, we talked about a lot of statistics and things, which he also reports on a regular basis. But one of my takeaways was a common denominator that, I'm not going to quote statistics, but in a lot of the police calls, there is probably a high probability of a basis of addiction, that whether they're dealing with a theft or domestic issues. And, drugs aren't necessarily the reason for the call, but it could be an underlying instigator of something that's going on in that family or between, the people involved in that situation. This is a personal mission for me, both addiction and domestic abuse, both of which can be interrelated. So one of the things that I was talking to the board about is, starting out very small with some awareness things through social media. And in the infancy, we're going to brainstorm about it, and certainly with Chief Peterson. It's not something we can ignore, and I think there's so many families that are affected by it. I certainly have been affected by it, and I can't say that I don't know a single person that hasn't been affected by it, being a family member, friends that you know of that are dealing with it within their family. So it's certainly something that I'd like to just provide some awareness of. It's a private issue. It's something that people deal with a great deal of privacy. We want to treat that with the dignity it deserves, and it would be just awareness messages, not a discussion board. You're not using social media for that reason, but just creating some brief messages of awareness that I think the takeaway for the person reading it would be, I don't feel that I'm alone. Other people deal with this, particularly when you don't feel that you can talk to other people about it. So that's just something that in my first couple weeks that I'd like to, get involved in. And I know that there's county level programs on addiction, and I, had asked the mayor, I'd be interested in partnering with him and participating in those programs at the county level as well. So that's what I have to share about about my past 2 weeks, and certainly there'll be more to come.
Thank you, Commissioner Scully. Commissioner Walker.
I'm excited about the progress at the sewer plant in the last couple of weeks. The new contractor has come in and jumped right on it and is moving along at a good pace. I have here a schedule that he gave us for completion of the job. A schedule like this I have never seen before from the previous contractor. If any of you are interested in looking at it, it'll be here. According to this schedule, they will have substantial completion of the project by July of 2015, which is less than a year from now. And total final completion by September. Substantial completion that the plant is started up, and then, of course, then there's testing for the rest of the time to make sure it works properly. So I'm happy about that. I have great optimism about this contractor and the job that he has done so far, and it looks like is going to continue doing. Also, on the water line, the town administrator has told me that Chester County has completed the engineering on the Pennsylvania portion of the line, and that's why we are working on an RFP to hire an engineer to do the Maryland portion of the line. So we are moving along in that area also. That's all I have right now.
That's great to hear, Commissioner Walker. Thank you. Commissioner Warnick.
Yeah, so as anybody that's been by the dog park recently has seen, there's a lot of dirt moving around. I think it's somewhere to the tune of, what we've estimated, 3,500 cubic feet or something?
300 cubic yards.
Okay, well, that's about this. Yeah. Give or take something around the same. Actually, that'd be more than what I said. So anyway, we've been working on getting the parking lot graded properly. The way it was currently graded, it was running into the wrong retention basin. And so we had an issue with the county with our grading permit, basically not, water's going to the wrong place. They're going to have an objection to that. So we've been working on lowering the one end of the parking lot to try and get the water running off as far up into the process as possible.
And I will say that we've definitely had some significant flooding issues down there, so that's really good to see
Yeah.
happening.
And that a lot of that comes down to the water quality, making sure that the water is going as far up into the process as possible to make sure the water gets treated correctly. We have some of the initial quotes for that project were around $25,000, and so far we've spent somewhere, using basically instead of hiring a contractor, we've had town resources working on that, and we are well under $10,000 at this point. And it looks like Calvin, I think we're pretty close to wrapping that up.
The 10,000 includes the 250 cubic yards of stone.
Right.
And I didn't get a chance to talk to you, but we've actually found a better alternative than the stone we were gonna buy, and that's potentially half the cost.
The crushed concrete. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I saw the email, but I hadn't had a chance to talk to you about it.
Correct.
So we should be getting to a point of completion on the parking lot here, I would say within probably the week.
Yeah, the end of the week.
The trail system over at the dog park, we're actually need to get with the Boy Scouts, and they were looking for blueprints, but I don't believe we're going to have any blueprints at this point for that. So we got to talk to them about what we want to build. It's probably not going to necessarily require blueprints. It's pretty simple setup. It's I believe I think we came up with 24 by 16 deck that'll be for the overlook, and that's the Boy Scouts. One of the Boy Scouts will be building a deck that will allow classrooms to come and overlook the pond so they can do environmental education at the far end of the retention basin. So there's some unique plants there. And Rupert, it's always funny going out with Rupert because it's, like, oh, look, there's this plant, and I was picking all the seeds out of the, whatever weed is, noxious weed down there. And I don't have the patience to, like, paint my wall, much less go down and pick out, like, every little seed out of a plant. So I find that interesting. You must spend hours picking seeds. I hate picking weeds out of the flower bed. And then, so one of the things, we need to get the parking lot completed in order to get our grant process. So once that's completed, I think that's the last thing that needs to occur for us to get paid back on the dog park.
That's correct.
And then over at Veterans Park, the last thing that we need to put in is working on the trail system over there. And once that's completed,
Yes.
I think we'll be getting paid back on that shortly. So, and that's my report.
I did want to say, Commissioner Warnick, if I may just for a second, that we are actually started to get repaid by Veterans Community Park with sending in some of the receipts. So I'm glad to see that the playground equipment itself we're getting paid back for also along the way. But substantial payment, the full entire thing will depend on getting the trail system complete. Commissioner Walker, sorry about that.
I forgot something. Calvin, for those of you who don't know, my wife had her appendix out, and I missed the last sewer meeting last Monday. Did they schedule another one?
The progress meeting with USDA is September 15th at 10:30.
All right, thank you. She's fine now.
I wanted to ask if there's any more business to come before the board this evening. Hearing none, I did want to say, Mrs. Walker, on behalf of the town of Rising Sun, hopefully you get well soon. We will see you sitting here in the meeting hopefully soon. But can I get a motion for adjournment, please?
A motion we adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.